Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Avatar: The Last Airbender and Philosophy, Wisdom from Aang to Zuko. Edited by William Irwin, Helen De Cruz, and Johann de Smet. Narrated by Diontae Black and Tegan Ashton Cohan. Preface. Aaron Eaz. What is the meaning and value of philosophy in Avatar: The Last Airbender? Why is it there? A decade before I became head writer of ATLA, I was an undergraduate studying philosophy at Harvard University. At the time, one of the most feared courses was an Introduction to Hegel, taught by Professor Fred Niehauser. To be clear, it was the material that was intimidating. The professor himself was beloved. At any given moment, he seemed to be genuinely wrestling with the mind-bending puzzles of Hegel's philosophy. Walking about campus, he always had a faraway look, lost in thought, as if perhaps he was just a single firing synapse away from fully synthesizing the material and reaching enlightenment. However, one day something happened that shook Professor Niehauser from his seemingly unbreakable intellectual reverie. I was sitting with several other students in the Adams House dining hall when we saw our brilliant professor dispose of the remains of his meal and walk over to select a dessert. His expression revealed his mind was still firmly anchored in some nuance of dialectical phenomenology. What he could not have expected was that when he got to the ice cream station, the depleted tub of mint chocolate chip had just been replaced with a 5-gallon cylinder of chocolate malted crunch, brand new and right out of deep freeze. Professor Niehauser approached with his bowl, and we watched as he attempted to scoop the ice cream. Impossible. It was completely solid. Professor Niehauser was not ready to concede, and after dipping the ice cream spade in the rinsing water, he attacked his frozen reward with all his might. For one instant, his face changed, and we knew, in that moment, there was no Hegel on his mind, nor Fichte or Rousseau for that matter. He was all about the ice cream. Man versus dessert. When I think about ATLA, I think about how our characters' ideas, belief systems, and frameworks were tested against their humanity. We loved exploring ideas from both Eastern and Western philosophy, and I always hoped that on a simplified for cartoons level, we still did those ideas some authentic justice. But maybe in the end, the characters were just human beings. They were just kids, and no philosophy was ever really going to stand up in the face of their very real human needs. I think about Aang trying to comfort himself with Buddhist philosophy when he loses Appa, and how ultimately his intellectualization of the loss fails. I think about Aang trying to let go of Katara so he can unlock his last chakra and unlock the avatar state. How can he possibly let go of his love? Reflecting on ATLA, I wonder if perhaps this was the unconscious conclusion we had drawn in our writing. That cold, intellectual philosophy ultimately cannot stand up to core drives of character and human needs. In the end, philosophy was nothing, just weightless musings. It shrinks and vanishes in the face of loss, love, or especially hard ice cream. But then I think about Uncle Iroh. Uncle Iroh not only loves wisdom, he loves and studies wisdom and ideas from many cultures. In Bitter Work, Iroh reveals that through his study of water tribe culture, he applied some of their ideas and techniques to things he already knew as a firebender, and he created a new technique that redirects lightning. He teaches this technique to Zuko, and these teachings end up being the key to the whole saga. This technique allows Zuko to stand up to his father, survive, and move forward on a new path that helps Aang, Katara, Toph, and Sokka save the world. So, one unconsciously written lesson that I would like to take from ATLA is that our humanity is not just a measure and limit to the power of philosophy. Philosophy and our openness to new ideas are the key to unlocking the ultimate potential in our humanity. The other tacit lesson, as great thinkers from ancient to modern times, Eastern and Western cultures can agree on, is that if you just let the ice cream sit out for about 10 minutes, it's a lot easier to scoop.
Introduction. We are all one people, but we live as if divided. Helen De Cruz and Johann de Smet. Water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. The opening sequence of Avatar: The Last Airbender introduces us to the four elements of the show's universe and the historical events that precede the story. The narrator, Katara, goes on. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them, but when the world needed him most, he vanished. On the face of it, ATLA seems like just another story that uses the chosen one trope, which is familiar in science fiction and fantasy. Think of Harry Potter, Luke Skywalker, or Neo. This trope usually unfolds in the following way. The world is in peril, but fortunately there is a chosen one who will save it. The chosen one is prophesied as the only one who can save humanity, or the world, or the universe, by virtue of his, or rarely her, special innate abilities. As speculative fiction writer Irit Patterson explains, the chosen one succeeds because they are, well, chosen, not because they have worked years to perfect their skill set. Their ability is innate. She objects to the trope precisely because it underemphasizes collective struggle and learning. In reality, we cannot fix problems so easily by passively waiting around for a savior. Indeed, the Avatar is exceptional. In a world where some people possess the ability to bend a specific element to their will, he is the only one who can bend all four elements. He is the one who brings balance to the world, the only one who can stop the militaristic Fire Nation in their relentless conquest. However, ATLA subverts the chosen one trope in ways that make the show philosophically distinct from many other shows that feature superheroes and other larger-than-life characters. Though Aang, as the Avatar, is indeed the only one who can master the four elements, his learning is slow and non-linear. He requires a dedicated teacher for each element, and finding teachers is not always a straightforward process. Moreover, he struggles and faces mental obstacles in his ability to earthbend, and especially firebend. Even after he completes his training, he remains inferior in bending skill to some of his masters. Unlike Katara, he cannot bloodbend. Unlike Toph, he cannot metalbend. Saving the world is a team effort, embodied in Team Avatar, aka the Gaang. Aang is not the leader of Team Avatar, that is Katara. He's not the brains, that is Sokka. He's not the voice of reason, often Toph. As Aang points out, the Sky Bison Appa literally carries the members of Team Avatar, the chase. Also, Aang needs spiritual as well as practical guidance, which he receives from his past incarnations and many wise individuals, including the Lion Turtle and King Bumi. A major theme in ATLA is oneness, the philosophical idea that the world is one, and that we can only flourish in relationship to others. As Guru Patik says, the greatest illusion of this world is the illusion of separation. Things you think are separate and different are actually one and the same. When Aang asks if this applies to the four nations, Guru Patik replies, yes, we are all one people, but we live as if divided. The Guru. Hugh, a waterbender from the Foggy Swamp tribe, expresses a similar sentiment. You think you're any different from me, or your friends, or this tree? If you listen hard enough, you can hear every living thing breathing together. You can feel everything growing. We're all living together, even if most folks don't act like it. We all have the same roots, and we are all branches of the same tree. The Swamp. We can find real-world analogues of hue empathique in many philosophical traditions, notably in East and South Asian schools of thought, including Taoism, Neo-Confucianism, and Huaiyin and Chan/Zen Buddhism. These philosophical traditions hold that the world and its inhabitants actually form a whole, and that our sense that we are separated in nations, species, living and non-living things, etc., is a harmful illusion. For example, the Chinese Buddhist philosopher Fa Zhang, 643 to 712, explained the idea of oneness to Wu Zetian, China's only empress. He taught her that reality is one, using a nearby golden lion statue as a metaphor for the oneness of reality. Like the different parts of the statue, all is one, because all are the same in lacking an individual nature. One is all because cause and effect follow one another endlessly. Views that humanity is one whole and that we are one with the natural world also feature in many indigenous philosophical traditions, as well as in feminist care ethics, environmental and animal ethics, and anarchism. The contributions to this volume engage with several of these traditions. This book benefits from its author's breadth of experiences and philosophical insights. Their experiences directly bear on their work. For example, 2 chapters that explore the bending arts of ATLA in detail are written by martial artists experienced in Chinese and Japanese martial arts. Other authors advocate for disability rights and Black abolitionism. 3 of the chapters in this volume are written by Indigenous authors. This eclecticism and the importance of experience remind us of what Iroh teaches his nephew Zuko in Bitter Work. It is important to draw wisdom from many different places. If you take it from only one place, it becomes rigid and stale. Understanding others, the other elements, and the other nations will help you become whole. This intertwining of experience, identity, and reflection illustrates how philosophy helps us deal with enduring problems that have no easy solutions. The imagined world of ATLA needs to deal with the imperialism of the Fire Nation and its destructive effects on ecology, culture, and people. We are regularly reminded that the air nomads became victims of a genocide, already in the show's title, The Last Airbender, which is an unusual and serious topic for a children's show, especially given how genocide and ecological devastation continue to be swept under the carpet in the real world. Without serious reflection on these problems, that is, without philosophy, we cannot come to solutions. Far from an idle pastime, philosophy is central to human life and flourishing. It helps us to address societal ills in a creative way. For example, we can see how Ba Sing Se deals with challenges in a suboptimal way. Its government has installed an authoritarian and secret police force. Moreover, it cordons off the steady stream of refugees from its wealthiest citizens and promotes lies. There is no war in Ba Sing Se, over an honest confrontation with the imminent danger its citizens face. Like the characters in ATLA, we also have to grapple with ecological destruction, the enduring effects of genocide, imperialism, wealth inequality, and many other challenges. In ATLA, sage individuals in conversation with Team Avatar can come to reasonable solutions to these problems. Their philosophies can help us imagine alternative futures and better ways of life in our world, too. Much like Team Avatar is a collective effort, this book could not have come about without the collaboration and help of many people. Foremost, there are 32 contributing authors, whose insights prompted us to rewatch numerous episodes and to discover new layers of meaning within them. We are also thankful to the people at Wiley Blackwell, including Will Croft, Marissa Coors, and Charlie Hamlin, for their assistance throughout the project, and Louise Spenceley for her careful copy editing. We are grateful to Katie Rackers, Helen's research assistant, for help with the preparation and formatting of the manuscript. We are indebted to our children, Gabriel and Eleanor, who watched the series with us and discussed the contributions as we were reviewing and editing them. Many thanks to Bill Irwin, the series editor and word bender par excellence, for help and advice throughout the project. A final word of thanks goes out to our students, with whom we have discussed several of the topics of the show, and especially to John Nash, who drew our attention to the series. Part 1. The Universe of Avatar, The Last Airbender. Chapter 1. Native Philosophies and Relationality in Avatar, The Last Airbender. It's lion turtles all the way down. Miranda Belarde Lewis, Zuni/Tlingit, and Clementine Bordeaux, Sichungu Oglala Lakota. The true mind can wither all the lies and illusions without being lost. The true heart can touch the poison of hatred without being harmed. Since beginningless time, darkness thrives in the void, but always yields to purifying light. Lion Turtle, Sozin's Comet Part 2, The Old Masters. Is Avatar The Last Airbender, ATLA, a native story? Possibly. Can native peoples see themselves and their philosophies reflected in ATLA? Absolutely. At least, we can. We are native people from vastly different native communities, Zuni Pueblo/Tlingit and Sichungu Oglala Lakota. And yet there are many events, themes, and underlying philosophical messages within ATLA that resonate with us both. These include having deep relationships with a specific territory and landscape, a consciousness of the sheer strength of the natural elements within that landscape, being aware of and at ease with the spirit realm, and the easygoing acceptance of supernatural and extrahuman abilities as part of everyday life for those in the ATLA universe. The everydayness of benders, reflecting the physical properties of their elements, reminds us of the work of the late Jicarilla Apache philosopher V.F. Cordova, 1937 to 2002. Cordova described bounded space as a land base defined by geographic features such as mountains, rivers, deserts, lakes, oceans, and canyons. Being from a specific bounded space provides a chance to develop a heightened awareness of one's physical location, as well as the plants, animals, weather, and seasons of that environment. Being from a bounded space obligates a person to be knowledgeable of and responsible for that space. Part of the obligation and responsibility of bounded space is knowing that on the other side of that mountain, river, desert, lake, ocean, or canyon live different sets of people in their rightful and bounded space. The ATLA universe contains multiple examples of bounded space. As the series progresses, we're taken on a tour through the different nations and learn to recognize the ways each nation's bounded space is reflected in the landscapes, animals, and plants, and how the landscapes have shaped the humans in those spaces, in everything from their personalities, clothing, and food, to their relation to the spirit realm, and, of course, their benders. There is a Lakota saying, "The same as above, as below," which means that the events taking place here in the physical world affect what happens in the spiritual world, and vice versa. While we're given hints that there are amazingly big metaphysical and spiritual events going on when Aang's iceberg bubble first surfaces and when the statue's eyes light up with avatar energy at the Southern Air Temple. Our first explicit introduction to the spirit realm is Winter Solstice Part 1, where the Gaang witness the effects of a scorched earth terror campaign typical of a Fire Nation raid, and discover a nearby village being terrorized by an angry spirit, Heibai. After Sokka and Aang are transported to the spirit realm and back, the experience helps Aang and us see that living humans and the spirit world coexist and are inextricably linked. The spirit realm might appear scary, but as we dive further into the series, we realize that it's all around us, and that it deserves respect and is not to be feared. Aang learns it's impossible to separate the physical world from the spirit world, a sentiment shared by many native peoples from different tribal nations. As Indigenous peoples watching ATLA, we bring our specific tribal understandings of the physical world, spiritual world, and more than human kin defined by the bounded spaces we grew up in. For example, in Lakota, understanding spiritual journeys after death involves traveling along the Milky Way to the spirit world, which reminds us of Aang's path along a starry ribbon toward the universe as he learns how to master the Avatar state, the crossroads of destiny. In both Zuni Pueblo and Tlingit understandings of reincarnation and rebirth, the genealogical connections of family and heritage live on through successive generations and are acknowledged as an identifiable strength of individuals, families, and clans, extended family groups. Past lives play a vital role in passing on knowledge and wisdom through the Avatar line. We can see Aang's journey as he tries to restore the balance between good and evil, dark and light, and master all the elements as his understanding of air, water, earth, and fire deepens his connection to the world he's tasked with protecting. The Benders, defined by their bounded space. At the beginning of each ATLA episode, the audience is reminded, long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. The sequence shows four individuals bending the water, earth, fire, and air elements. The four elements within the ATLA universe reflect the specific bounded space that obligates a person to be knowledgeable of and responsible for that space. ATLA characters within the Water Tribes, Earth Kingdom, the Fire Nation, and the Air Nomads are bound to and shaped by their relationships with their respective nations. 2 episodes specifically highlight the impact of relationships between other than human persons, including animals and spirits of the bending world. In The Siege of the North Part 1, the moon and ocean stories are revealed to explain water bending. In The Firebending Masters, stories are shared regarding earthbending, airbending, and firebending. These 2 episodes are excellent examples of bounded space and relationality. Relationality, as explored by contemporary Cree scholar Sean Wilson, is a deep-seated responsibility to the territory one comes from, as well as all aspects of that territory: land, water, people, animals, plants. In The Siege of the North, Part 1, we are introduced to the Northern Spirit Oasis and the spirits Tui, push, and La, pull, who took the form of koi fish in the human plane of existence. Princess Yue tells Aang, Katara, and Momo that the moon taught waterbending to the people of the Water Tribes as they observed the push and pull on the ocean. Yue further explains that our strength comes from the spirit of the moon. Our life comes from the spirit of the ocean. She takes them to a spirit oasis, the most spiritual area in the North Pole. Later, Yue reciprocates the life that was gifted to her as a newborn in order to reanimate Twee's slain fish body, and thus takes her new place in the sky as an ancestor, the moon spirit. This act of selfless love for family and community reminds us of Tlingit clan insignia in the Pacific Northwest. The symbols used to represent various Tlingit clans were earned by ancient ancestors who gave their lives to animals, supernatural beings, or landforms like mountains. In exchange, their surviving family group is now able to use and draw strength from the image of that animal or mountain. Likewise, the waterbenders and Sokka know that Yue is in the sky, guiding and watching over everyone. In The Firebending Masters, Toph shares her story of learning earthbending from the badger moles. I was able to learn earthbending not just as a martial art, but as an extension of my senses. She explains that the badger moles utilize earthbending as a way of interacting with the world. Aang tells us he learned from the air nomad monks, but they learned from the flying bison, the original airbenders. He even remarks to Appa that, "Maybe you'll give me a lesson one day, buddy," thus reducing the hierarchy between humans and animals, introducing the possibility that Appa could be the leader of a situation and not just a ride and a pet. The connection to koi fish, badger moles, and air bison demonstrates the deep relationship to other-than-human persons integral to bending. Later, in the Firebending Masters episode, the last dragons are revealed to understand fire, furthering Aang and Zuko's firebending knowledge. The ancient protectors of this knowledge, the Sun Warriors, literally bring to light the way dragons continue to privilege and utilize firebending cultural knowledge. The Sun Warriors reveal an ontological formation that contemporary Quandamuka scholar and philosopher Eileen Morton Robinson describes as a matter of identity and state of being. She explains, "We come to know who we are and who we claim to be, as well as who claims us and how we are connected to our lands." Zuko and Aang's firebending suffers without a defined connection to the dragons and the land. Ultimately, Aang's apprehension toward firebending and Zuko's diminished firebending abilities are grounded in fear. As they witness firebending from the true masters, they see this ability as a responsibility rather than a right. Their commitment to firebending is present in their drive to bring balance to the universe. For each nation's benders, it's the connection to and awareness of the physical properties of their respective bounded spaces that result in their extra-human abilities and, ultimately, the mastery of their bending. The people. The specific bounded spaces of the respective nations are reflected in their people and their benders. In Bitter Work, Uncle Iroh breaks down the main characteristics of the people and the four nations. The Fire Nation embody power and desire. The Earth Kingdom show endurance and diversity. The Air Nomads achieved freedom from worldly concerns and also had a pretty good sense of humor. And the Water Tribes exude love and community, especially in the face of change. Contemporary Hawaiian philosopher and scholar Manulani Alulimeyer states, "Specificity leads to universality." This idea about celebrating one's origins while still respecting differences is later expanded by Iroh and the others in the Order of the White Lotus, a point we'll return to later. The specificity of physically bounded places creates the unique traits of the people who live within those boundaries, which results in the incredible abilities drawn upon by each nation's benders. Meyer writes that for Indigenous peoples, one does not simply learn about the land, we learn best from land. She goes on to explain that we need to recognize and identify how space has influenced our thinking, because it has. Prince Zuko's quest to reclaim his honor through his search for the Avatar leads him to experience every corner of the world with Uncle Iroh and his small crew. Later, when he achieves his long-standing goal of being at his father's...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?